This is Noor, a poor village boy who has only one dream: to become a real mage. He goes from one academy to another, hoping someone will teach him magic, but every test gives him the same answer: no mana, no talent, no future. While gifted students throw fireballs and learn royal spells, Noor is left outside with nothing but a wooden sword and a heart too stubborn to quit. So he trains the only thing nobody can reject: his own body. Years pass, his dream keeps breaking, yet his hands never stop moving. And one day, the same world that called him powerless had to watch a failed mage crush monsters even trained magicians were afraid to face. An anime begins with Noor, who is trying to make medicine for his sick mother. And while doing that, he told her he wanted to buy a few goats and raise them so they could live better. But his mother is not really convinced and tells him to focus on himself and his own life instead. Noor notices that her mood is not good, so he decides to make tea for her. But she stops him and says that she can no longer help him the way she wants to, then gently asks him to live his life in his own way, as long as he stays respectful and decent. That same night, Noor feels extremely hungry, but his heart is strangely heavy and he has no appetite, so he thinks of checking on his mother, hoping they might eat together. But when he goes to see her, he finds that she has sadly passed away. Noor is completely broken, yet he does not allow grief to freeze his life forever, so he decides to keep moving, chase his dreams, and learn new things. From that point on, he lives alone, carrying every responsibility by himself, with no one around to support him. One night, Noor finds a book filled with thoughts about his father, who used to tell him stories about his adventures and how he fought dragons. And as Noor closes the book, he remembers his mother's words when she told him to live the way he wanted. That memory lights something inside him, and he decides that he will become a great adventurer. So he leaves the village and goes to the city for the first time in his life, heading straight to the Adventurers Guild to learn what steps he needs to take. However, the moment he arrives, he is shocked when the clerk tells him that this place is not for children. Noor refuses to leave because he has already made up his mind, and the clerk explains that if he really wants to become an adventurer, he must take lessons at the royal training schools to improve his level. Noor becomes very excited and goes to the school to learn magic and swordsmanship, but after months of training, he fails to learn anything useful, and the instructor finally tells him to leave because he is only wasting everyone's time, including his own. Still, Noor does not give up. He tries other schools too, including the warrior school, the hunter school, and even the thief school, but he fails there as well. Every time he tries something new, he ends up failing, yet he keeps pushing forward and refuses to surrender. After 3 years of training, his skills have barely improved and he has not learned any new proper ability, although his dodging has become better. Noor then decides to train even harder and push himself beyond his limits, and after 10 long years, he finally becomes able to dodge 1,000 strikes with his wooden sword, which means he has grown far more than anyone realizes. After that, he returns to the guild, where the old clerk recognizes him and says that he can finally become an F-rank adventurer, meaning he still cannot take dangerous missions. But Noor does not care at all, because the only thing that matters to him is that he has finally become an adventurer. Even though he becomes only an F-rank adventurer, he is extremely happy and starts taking very small jobs around the city. These simple jobs improve his speed and strength little by little, and he spends his days fixing basic things, helping people, and doing any small task he can find. The townspeople begin to like him because his work is always clean and sincere. Then, one day, Noor sees soldiers being attacked by a monster like the ones he used to read about in books. The monster is terrifyingly strong and is completely overwhelming the soldiers, so Noor decides to help. He grabs a brick and throws it at the beast to distract it, then uses his dodging skill to survive its attacks and somehow defeats the monster, protecting a girl who was there, but unfortunately his sword breaks during the fight. The girl thanks Noor and asks for his name, but he simply says he is no one important and walks away. After that fierce battle, Noor notices that his hand is shaking and realizes how scared he truly was, so he decides he must train even more if he wants to become a real adventurer in the future. On the other side, we see the soldiers analyzing what happened during Noor's fight with the monster, and the knight Inez is deeply upset because she could not protect Lynn, who is actually the daughter of King Clays. Lynn tells her that there is no need for escorts during the trials related to the right of succession, because that was her own decision from the beginning, and she apologizes for making everyone worry. Around that time, the news reaches Rain, Lynn's brother, and he learns everything that happened to his sister. He asks whether someone summoned the Minotaur or not because he suspects something serious, since the Minotaur is a demon that lives in the abyss, the deepest layer of the dungeon, a place almost nobody understands. And for it to appear on the surface, someone must have brought it there. The guard strongly agrees with Rain, and they reveal that experts found a ring on the dead merchant's body at the scene, and that ring seems to be the cause. The old desert specialists in the field examined it and discovered that it contained a high-quality stone that does not exist in the market, which means the ring likely came from the magical empire of Dross. This is not the first time Dross has done something like this, and if they summoned a monster this time, no one knows what they might summon next time. On top of that, Princess Lin had also been trapped inside a barrier. Rain tells the guard to stay alert in the coming days, because Dross is not only trying to get rid of the princess, they are also searching for the valuable resources inside the kingdom, especially the remains of the Lost Rain dungeon. Then Rain changes the subject and asks about the mysterious man who saved Lin. The report says that this man used a massive broadsword to defeat the Minotaur, and the entire fight did not even last a second. The knights were supposed to have seen everything, yet the report says the man disappeared right in front of them like an illusion, which makes Rain suspicious because he cannot believe what is written. After that, we return to Noor, who has gone back to the Adventurers Guild, and the moment the clerk sees him, he is completely shocked, wondering how this boy is still alive because he heard that the demon appeared near the dungeon entrance and that no one had ever seen such a thing before. He tells Noor that some people came asking about him specifically, and it was very obvious that they wanted to meet him. Noor remembers the people who had been watching him, but he had managed to escape from them, so he quickly changes the subject because he feels that something strange is about to happen. The clerk then gives him a reward for what he did and asks him why he is so determined to become an adventurer. But at that exact moment, Princess Lin appears, extremely happy that she has finally found the mysterious man. She explains that she used her detection skill to locate him from a distance, then apologizes for invading their privacy, but says she only did it because she desperately wanted to meet Noor and almost died before getting the chance to see him again. Noor feels like he has entered another world and becomes confused, wondering how this girl has thief-like skills. But Lin corrects him and says he is wrong because her focus is mainly on magic, and she also has knowledge about the 6 skill systems. She seems ready to talk more, but then she notices that everyone is staring at her, so she asks them to speak outside instead. The clerk becomes confused and wonders what this girl wants from them, then tells Noor to run away quickly. But Lin clears up the misunderstanding and explains that it would be better to talk outside where no one can hear them once she uses a sound isolation and invisibility spell. They go outside, and Lin begins thanking Noor for what he did for her. She also wants to give him a large reward for his brave action, but the humble Noor refuses and says that a simple thank you is enough. Lin then tells him that her father also wants to meet him and thank him personally. Noor becomes nervous and quietly wonders what he even did to deserve all of this. Lin explains that she is an important person in the country, so she must give something to the person who saved her life. She keeps offering him different rewards, but Noor refuses all of them, leaving her deeply frustrated because he does not seem to need anything from her. Then she decides to do something strange. She stands still and tells him she will not move until he accepts a gift from her. Noor remains firm and tells her that he only came to meet her father, nothing more. Lin then says she will use an invisibility spell now because she does not want anyone seeing her enter the palace with a strange young man. She uses several strange techniques, and they pass through without anyone noticing them. Noor is amazed by her home because it is huge, while Lin casually says that it is normal for her family. After that, she formally introduces herself, and we learn that her full name is Lindbergh Clays, while Lin is only the name she uses during adventurer activities. She then asks Inez where her father is, and Inez tells her that he is with a very special guest and that she cannot enter right now. Lin asks how that can be, then says the special guest is already with her, meaning Noor, because he risked his life for her. They finally enter the king's chamber, and the king begins thanking Noor for saving his daughter, asking him to name whatever reward he wants. Noor does not answer, so the king offers him a huge amount of money, but Noor refuses. Then the king offers him treasures from their country's dungeon, which is known as the oldest dungeon in the world, but Noor refuses again. At that moment, the king gets an idea and offers him an old sword he had been keeping, and the moment Noor sees the sword, he instantly accepts. When Noor tests it, everyone is shocked by his strength, and the king becomes deeply impressed by this boy. The king then offers to let Noor teach his daughter how to use a sword and improve her skills, but Noor says that the king is interfering too much in his daughter's life and that he should let her do what she wants instead of stepping into matters that are not his to control. Surprisingly, the king is convinced by his words and accepts them. Noor leaves the king afterward, still amazed by the sword he received, but as he is walking away, Inez stops him, thanks him for saving Lin, and tells him that she belongs to the family that protects the Lindbergh family. Then she leaves. When Noor turns around to continue walking, he is surprised to find a young man standing there named Gilbert, who asks Noor to fight him in a one-on-one duel. Noor agrees, although he has no idea what might happen, since he has not had a training partner since his school days. Gilbert says he is famous for his combat skills and tells Noor not to choose a sword because he believes a staff is better for a match like this, but what Gilbert does not know is that Noor does not really care about such details. To Noor, this is a golden chance for a beginner adventurer to get beaten in a practice match instead of being beaten by a real enemy, so he sees it as the best opportunity to train against someone stronger than him. Noor chooses the sword and announces that he is ready. The duel begins, and Gilbert takes an attacking stance, but not a single strike lands on Noor. Noor is so fast that he thinks Gilbert is moving slowly, and during the fight, Noor even assumes that Gilbert is holding back. He tells him not to pull his attack so much, but Gilbert has no idea what Noor is talking about. Gilbert apologizes and starts taking the fight more seriously, becoming much faster than before. Yet he slowly grows frustrated because he still cannot land even one hit. Noor, however, still believes Gilbert is not treating him seriously and is fighting the same way as before, so he asks Gilbert to show him a different move. Gilbert changes his attack in the middle of the strike, but Noor avoids it easily again, feeling that the blow never even came close. And then he asks Gilbert to make his attacks faster. Gilbert had spent years crushing every weak fighter around him, and because no one could ever push him properly, boredom had started eating him alive. One day, his teacher told him that Inez had earned the same title as him, but Gilbert barely cared because even that news failed to excite him. The teacher then asked what he thought about Inez, and Gilbert admitted she was strong, just not stronger than him. Hearing this, the teacher became certain that someday someone would appear, humble him properly, and break that proud head of his, while the arrogant Gilbert simply said he hoped that day would come because he was sick of being bored. Back in the present, Gilbert is still stunned, unable to accept how someone like Noor managed to lower his pride and shake his dignity, but his shock grows even more when he sees the deep marks carved into the ground from their battle. On the other side, Noor walks down the road happily, completely focused on his new sword and how useful it is, because in his mind, this sword can even clean drains, scrape away the sticky stuff stuck at the bottom, and basically do everything, even helping him prepare pizza. After a while, Noor sits and wonders what he should do with his new sword. But suddenly, Lynn appears and asks him to become her servant. Noor thinks she is insulting him, so she quickly explains that she did not mean it that way and that she truly wants him to stay by her side all day, take care of her, and teach her magic. To tempt him more, she tells him that her family will pay him a huge amount of money in exchange for looking after her, but Noor rejects the offer immediately. Lynn tries even harder and uses her magic, telling him she is ready to teach him magic if he becomes her assistant, and she even cuts a tree in half with one strike, then keeps showing him more and more of her skills to impress him. After all that magic and display, Noor still refuses her, giving Lynn the biggest shock of her life. He tries to think of a way to make her understand that there is nothing he can really do for her, so he decides to show her his own small abilities so she will leave him alone, and somehow his plan works. As Lynn returns home, she starts thinking about the story the teachers in the 6 schools used to tell students, a story about a young boy with no talent at all. Most students treated that story like a fairy tale because the idea of such a boy existing felt impossible, but we learned that this boy studied at every training school in the royal capital, all famous for their strict training. He was extremely hardworking and completed every school's curriculum, and because he was so obsessed with learning, he could finish training courses meant to last 3 months in only 3 days. Lynn always believed that story was impossible until she remembered the magic instructor Oaken showing her how a tiny flame could grow bigger, explaining that even a small flame could expand through constant training. Lynn had tried to grow her own small flame again and again, but sadly, it stayed at a fixed size and would not grow any further. To improve that skill, she would need to work harder and push herself even more. Then we understand why Noor looked so unbelievable in her eyes after he showed his flame, because his flame was even bigger than the flame of the greatest magician in the world. Lynn regrets feeling proud of her small skills, especially when Noor could perform such amazing things, but only showed them because he wanted her to leave him alone. We also learn that Lynn wants to become stronger so she can earn a place like her older brother, and because of that, she returns without fearing people. Lynn replies that she is an adventurer, first and last, so things like that do not bother her much. They go to the guild and look for a job that needs 2 people, and we learn that Lynn is a silver B rank adventurer, which means if she and Noor form a team, they can take a goblin hunting job. Noor is shocked by what he hears because this means he will be working outside the capital, and he also feels a little bad because it seems like he will be using Lynn's rank as an adventurer, but Lynn says she would be honored to form a team with him. Her words do not fully reach Noor because he still sees himself as undeserving, yet he manages to push past that feeling and focus again on the dream that is finally coming true. He becomes very excited about the new job, but the clerk warns them that this mission is not safe just because the reward is small. The job will take place in the Forest of Monsters, and they must bring back a goblin ear as proof of success, because without that ear, they cannot receive their reward. He also tells them that goblin numbers have dropped, so they might not find any there. And if that happens, their only option is to gather some herbs and bring them back instead. After that, the two head out on their first mission together. Lynn explains that goblins used to eat small animals and tree fruits in the past, but now they have started attacking humans to steal their strength. And if they keep growing and evolving like this, they could eventually take over humanity and destroy the world, which is why adventurers try to control their numbers and solve the problem before it spreads too far. Noor and Lynn begin searching for goblins, but unfortunately they do not find anything. After a while, Lynn senses something strange and feels that a monster is nearby, so they go to check it out. But the forest is extremely dark, the tall trees block the sunlight, and that kind of place is exactly what goblins like because they prefer living in areas like this. Suddenly, Lynn stops and loudly says that it is standing right there. At first, Noor thinks the monster died from old age, but both of them are shocked when they realize the creature is not dead, only horribly deformed. Lynn immediately uses magic detection and reveals the hidden monster, which is huge and is eating another goblin to feed and rebuild itself. Legends say goblins are the weakest type of monster, but that is only true on paper, because this goblin is using trees like weapons to defend itself, and from its appearance, it is clearly very strong and planning something terrible. Lynn is very frightened, but Noor calms her down and promises that they will be fine. We learn that this creature is the Goblin Emperor, a monster created because of human manipulation and genetic changes, and it is the type of beast that becomes stronger the more it eats. At that moment, Lynn is deeply impressed by Noor and how confident he seems, and because of him, she starts gaining a little courage. The two prepare to attack, but the goblin moves first and launches the first strike. Noor reacts in time, uses his strength, and blocks the attack, but the goblin is extremely powerful. Lynn uses her magic to support Noor, yet nothing seems to affect the monster, and its wounds keep disappearing, which feels very strange to them. They suspect this regeneration has something to do with the crystal on its face, and if they can destroy or remove that crystal, their chance of winning will become much higher. The goblin clearly has other plans and throws a tree branch at them, but the two manage to dodge it. Lynn becomes certain that the crystal is the source of the goblin's power, so both of them decide to focus on it and make it their target. Lynn then uses a wind attack on Noor's back, and the wind is so strong that it launches Noor into the air toward the crystal. The goblin is completely shocked, and Lynn manages to take the stone, then tells Noor to finish the goblin. However, she is worried the monster will suffer too much and not endure the pain, so she burns the goblin instead. The creature screams and suffers from the intense pain, and after it dies, Noor decides he will not fight any more goblins until he forgets what happened here. He realizes he should not throw himself into dangerous situations recklessly, so he decides to move on to the next challenge only after training more and becoming stronger. A few days later, Rain receives news that the Goblin Emperor has been killed, and he becomes very worried about its crystal, wondering who managed to do it. But he is shocked when he learns that Lynn was the one who defeated it. On the other side, we see Noor and Lynn at the Adventurers Guild, and Noor believes Lynn is the reason everything went well, so he decides to celebrate his first hunting day with her because this is a very important moment for him. However, they are stunned when the clerk asks them for the goblin's ear as proof. Both of them panic and realize they acted like complete fools because they burned the goblin and forgot to take its ear. After that, we return to Rain, who learns from some documents that an enemy has entered their country, so he quickly decides to send forces to specific areas and calls for the 6 heroes. He is clearly full of regret because he did not discover this earlier, and he believes the magical empire has reached the point of madness because they want the dungeon's resources by any means necessary, without caring about human lives, and now they are coming to shake the country again. Meanwhile, on the other side, our hero and Lynn are having lunch together. During lunch, Lynn tells Noor that she was supposed to return home today, but her brother has already saved her the trip and ordered her to head toward the mountains in the morning because something major is happening there, although he did not explain the details, and from the way he said it, the matter is clearly serious. Noor becomes strangely excited because this will be his first time traveling far away from the capital, and for him, traveling is worth more than the money he earns from the guild. On top of that, he will be with Lynn, and in the future, he hopes he can travel to many different countries too. As he thinks about his dream of becoming a real adventurer and traveling on his own, Lynn apologizes for dragging him into her situation, but Noor tells her not to apologize because she has actually done him a huge favor and helped him deal with goblins. After that, Rain tells them to go to the mountains and wait there for a while, and if nothing strange happens, they should move to a place called Mizra. Lynn hopes nothing will happen, but Inez interrupts her and says she will definitely find that strange thing there. We then learn that Inez has secret orders from Rain, who warned her that the royal capital may soon fall into a massive crisis, and if it really gets destroyed, Inez Inez must take Lin and move toward Misra. Inez had refused the idea of leaving the capital during such an emergency, but Rain reminded her that her main duty is to protect Princess Lin. Back in the present, Inez impresses Noor with her armor, explaining that this armor is extremely powerful and that no weapon or magic can pass through it. Then the topic changes to a person named Armadillo, and we learn that he is a very gifted fighter who can defeat monsters in a single strike. Inez is said to have the same level of power as him, but she has never accepted being compared to him. She begins talking about her past, and we learn that she used to live in an orphanage, where she discovered that she had an unknown power and did not understand what was happening to her. Once, a curious girl tried putting her hand into that power, but she screamed in pain and could not endure it. When Inez showed her power to the heroes, it became clear that this ability was a rare gift to the world, because her power could either become a blade that cuts anything in half or a shield strong enough to protect an entire country. The heroes taught her how to use it, but sadly, she could never overcome her fear of hurting someone else with her own strength. So she chose the easy path and kept herself away from people. Back in the present, Inez is feeling very jealous of Noor and has been envying him ever since she first saw him. Soon, they notice a strange trail in the field. So Lin uses the spell she needs to reveal the monster there, and they discover that it is heading back toward the royal capital. At that moment, the king learns that the attack has begun, and unfortunately, he does not have enough soldiers to face these monsters. But Rain takes responsibility and forms a plan to confront them. He tells the king that he has sent the 6 heroes to the capital so they can understand what is happening there and decide what to do. We then see a group of soldiers being attacked by huge goblins, but at that moment, the other heroes arrive at the battlefield. The situation is terrible, yet Rain feels relieved because his sister has returned safely to him. Then the frog barrier suddenly breaks and the monster throws the child far away. Inez tries to stop it, but sadly she is a little too late, and the monster ends up facing Noor. A fierce battle begins between them. On the other side, Rain tells his sister about the demon people, explaining that they are half-human beings with the ability to create a mental link with monsters. The demons were closer to monsters than to humans, and later, they united together and almost destroyed the city of Misra, but humans hunted them down at the last moment. Everyone believed they had gone extinct, but unfortunately, descendants of those demons still exist. Rain warns his sister about the demons and tells her to run if she ever sees the child playing with a dragon. We return to Noor, who is doing everything he can to hold back the monster, but the creature spits some kind of liquid at him and makes him fall to the ground. Of course, Inez and Lin do not abandon him. They use their magic and help Noor until he finally manages to finish the monster completely. After that, we go back in time and see a group of imprisoned children whom people considered cursed because they were born with the power to control magical beasts. People called them useless demons, and these children were taught that the only purpose of their power was to control creatures. However, one of these children once used his power in war, controlled monsters, and killed a huge number of people, and ever since then humans began hating demons and driving them away. We then learned that there was a little girl who was always beaten, and every time she tried to speak she was beaten even more. This child had the power to read people's thoughts, which only made her suffering worse. Even after she learned how badly humans treated her, she never thought of revenge despite hating everything that had happened to her. One day, the man responsible for the prison ordered the child to control monsters and told her that demon people could be useful to humans. He promised that if she obeyed him, she would never be beaten again and could eat anything she wanted. But if she refused, she would be beaten even more than before. The child could not read the man's thoughts because he was wearing a device on his head that blocked her ability, so she had no choice but to trust him. After some time, the child went to the capital with the intention of destroying everyone according to that man's orders, but at that moment Lin destroyed the barrier. The child apologized to everyone because she had failed and was ready to end her own life. In a way, she did not help the man or complete his order, but at least she felt relieved because her conscience would not punish her, since she had not hurt anyone. She was happy to leave the world like this and wished that if she were born again, she would never be beaten and could be useful to someone. But at that exact moment, Noor appears and saves her. The child cannot understand why anyone would fight for her, and she becomes very worried when Noor is hit by the frog's poison. We learn that the child has also been poisoned, but strangely, her bleeding stops on its own. The battle becomes more intense, and Noor tries everything against the giant frog, but unfortunately, the poison has already taken control of his body. Then we go back in time and see Noor returning from school, making soup from some herbs he collected, but sadly, the soup turns out to be poisonous. Noor suffers from the poison and is forced to use his small ability to heal himself. The next day, Noor starts feeling better, but just as he recovers, a snake bites him so hard that he collapses to the ground. Strangely, the effects of the poison disappear quickly, and Noor realizes he has a resistance to poison. He begins developing this skill by intentionally eating poisonous things and enduring most toxins, although a small amount of blood still comes out of his mouth. Back in the present, Noor decides that the giant poison frog is nothing compared to what he has already endured, but unfortunately he cannot fully resist the poison in time and spits out a little blood. From experience, he knows that this amount of blood is not a serious problem and that his healing ability is protecting him. He returns to fighting the frog and becomes impressed when he confirms that he can endure such a terrifying monster by himself. The fight grows even hotter, and the frog prepares a very powerful attack, but Noor finishes it off at the right moment. After this fierce battle, the child admits that she was the one who brought the monster. At first, the group thinks the child was hiding herself so no one would steal the frog from her, but the truth is that she was doing all this to sell the frog and earn money. The child reveals that she could control the monster remotely, and Noor is amazed that such a small girl can control a giant beast like that. We learn this is the ability she was born with, and the child admits that she belongs to the demon people, meaning everyone from her kind has this power. Noor starts thinking about ways she could help people, and the child is stunned when she hears that she could actually be useful. She starts crying from the pressure in her heart, and Noor assures her that many people could benefit from her help.